It is so loud, I couldn't even hear myself scream.
My honest first thought was,
have you lost your mind?
yeah, I would never do this.
That's gonna cost some money.
Income, outcome, P&Ls.
A lot of that decision came from something that we do a lot.
Maybe I'm going too under the hood here. You guys tell me.
That is such a good piece of advice.
Please vote for us for Outstanding Hosted Nonfiction Series or Special. This is so crazy!
You didn't end up getting nominated. Do you feel disrespected by Hollywood?
So while I was training for this, I was actually also training for the next challenge I'll be doing, which is...
Oh my God, Michelle. Today's guests are Michelle Khare and Garrett Kennell, the duo behind one of the most popular shows on YouTube, Challenge Accepted.
If you watch YouTube at all, then you've definitely seen Challenge Accepted. In every episode, Michelle undertakes some truly absurd challenge that I would never do and most people watching would never try and do.
What Michelle and Garrett have been building over the past 7 years with Challenge Accepted really represents the future of YouTube. This concept that people are now watching more YouTube than ever on their connected TVs, and they're watching shows like Challenge Accepted. Challenge Accepted has episodes that are 40 minutes long, 60 minutes long, 90 minutes long. They're really producing content that is rivaling what's happening on streaming platforms, but they're doing it totally independently.
We sat down with Garrett and Michelle a few days before they released their biggest episode to date, which is where Michelle and the entire crew recreate Tom Cruise's deadliest stunt from Mission Impossible, where he literally hangs off the side of a military airplane.
So if you've ever wondered what it means to build a hit show totally independently, that's what we get into in this episode. The storytelling mechanics that they actually use in this video to capture people's attention on YouTube. And then we talk about their experience being shortlisted for the Emmys and what the future of YouTube and Hollywood actually looks like.
All right, enjoy our conversation with Michelle Khare and Garrett Kennell.
Michelle Khare, Garrett, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks
Sorry
for
I didn't
having
say your last name, Garrett.
Kennel.
Yeah, I know. It just feels like you have to say Michelle's last name.
I know.
Yeah. To me, you're Garrett. So
You're like Zendaya. You just need just your first name only. I think that's more impressive.
it's been 3 years since we had you on the show last, and you've just done something really insane. Like watching this video, my honest first thought was,
have you lost your mind?
yeah, I would never do this. And we've been invited in like plain situations, and I'm typically just, my default is like, no.
Define you've been invited to plain situations.
Yeah, so we got invited to that liquid death thing where they like flipped you upside down.
Mhm.
I don't know how to, Eric did it.
Yeah.
But they asked us if we were going to do it. They were like, yeah, you'll be at like 0G and you might like throw up and pee your pants. But
I'm
like,
glad you were able to back that up because I had no idea what you were
Yeah,
talking about.
you don't remember that?
No, I remember
came to
now,
Colin,
but like,
and I was like, do you want to do this? And we were both like, oh, we don't want to do this. Like this is, I don't want to like throw up everywhere. Anyway, this is me saying I'm impressed with the fact that
Oh,
you
thank
are
you.
willing to do this type of stuff.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, we're very, very excited, super proud. This feels like a magnum opus in a lot of ways for our team.
Say more about that, because like it does to me. I watch this and I'm like, this is a really big moment. Why does it feel like that to you? Why does it feel like a magnum?
Gosh, it feels like a really big moment in many ways. The first being when my dad moved to the United States, he learned English by watching films like Rocky and growing up watching Tom Cruise's films. And so to really bring things full circle where, to our knowledge, our team is the second team after Paramount to attempt a stunt of this nature is really, really special. When I think back to 7-8 years ago when I started my channel, I was filming Starbucks reviews on my iPhone by myself, and the people who I was surrounded by believed in what I was doing and saw a larger vision. So when you look at the call sheet of this episode, you can go all the way back to the beginning of my channel and it's a lot of the same camera crew, a lot of, like Nick, Garrett, we've all been collaborating for years. And what I love about this is it wasn't us hiring another production company to do it. It was our team was given the reins to do it, and everyone rose to the occasion.
how far back does this idea get greenlit? When's the moment when you're like, yeah, okay, we're actually going to do this?
My memory is that I saw you in January and this wasn't
Yes.
yet a thing. Or what had it been greenlit in January?
In January of this year is when we really came up with the idea.
Right.
And it was kind of spinning out of the success of our Houdini project. And that was sort of, at that point, the edge of the channel, like a really big moment for us then. And we were thinking about what are other incredible individuals and histories we can really dive into in the way we did with Houdini. And Tom Cruise is an obvious answer to that. The other one that comes to mind that I still want to do is climbing the Burj Khalifa.
I mean, you allude to it at the end of the episode.
We do, yes. So at the beginning of this year, we were like, okay, these are two big white whales we should go after. And transparently, we started attacking both in equal fashion. So on one side, myself and our producer Nick and our assistant Maddie all started sending a variety of very interesting emails and phone calls to foreign militaries to find an A400M aircraft. And then also we were speaking with connections in Dubai to see, could we get the Burj Khalifa? Ultimately, where we landed with the Burj Khalifa was I received an email wherein basically I was told, hey, so the only other people who have done this are Tom Cruise and Mr. Beast. So we're not sure about this, which I'm interpreting as they just don't think we have enough clout yet. So please subscribe to our channel.
Interesting.
Use this as a shameless plug. Please subscribe to our channel so we can convince the city of Dubai to let us do that. But I use yet often when we are talking about our episodes because sometimes we will wait years for the right opportunity, the right people to come along.
So we're looking at the thumbnail right now.
Yes.
Of the video.
I love this thumbnail.
Before we get into the actual like mechanics of the thumbnail, I'm realizing I haven't asked you yet, just like, what did it feel like to hang out of this plane? Because it's pretty crazy in the video. When you watch it, you're like, I can't really conceptualize what that feels like.
It's a very hard thing to convey on camera. But if I'm just giving my raw, honest feedback of what it felt like, it's complete sensory overload. It's not like skydiving. It's not like standing in front of a big fan, even though, you know, that's what we trained. It's truly an experience of its own for a few reasons. We all know what it's like to look out the window of an airplane, but this is not looking out the window of an airplane. It's you look down and the earth is 2,000 feet below you. And then I look to my hands and there's one rope holding me there. There's no seatbelt. In addition to that, it's extremely loud. It's total sensory overload. It is so loud, I couldn't even hear myself scream.
Whoa.
And that was actually a big inspiration for the edit. Which
Okay.
sounds crazy. So no, there's in the original Alien film, the tagline to that film is, "In space, no one can hear you scream." And when Michelle was talking about how like she couldn't even hear herself scream out there, I just, my brain was like, oh wait, that's a really interesting inspiration for the edit. And actually a lot of our music choices, sound effects, we actually have a music motif that will come in at the cold open, and also when she's having trouble on the plane in the finale, that is inspired by that like alien
Groaning.
horn.
Whoa.
Yeah, like that little sound motif comes in a lot to evoke that feeling.
One of the most interesting things about YouTube and a video like this, and I talked to Max Fosh about this because he's a comedian, and in a lot of his videos, the title and the thumbnail of the video is the payoff of the joke. It's the punchline, right? And in a way, this is also the payoff. This thumbnail is showing me, it says, I tried Tom Cruise's Deadliest stunt, and there you are doing it. Like, I am seeing the end of the video here. And I find that to be such an interesting, you know, recognition with YouTube is like, so then the suggestion is like, I want to click in to see if it actually happened or what the journey was to get there. Right. But like the payoff is kind of presented to me before I've even clicked into the video.
Is this live critique? Tell us how to fix it.
No,
This hasn't come out yet.
it's not a critique.
I
It's
think
not a critique.
you can do this when it's unique enough,
Yeah,
but also borderline unbelievable.
exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Like, because if it's unbelievable, but you've seen the format all over YouTube, it's like, nah, I know kind of how this plays out. But no one I mean, literally, you are like the only other human on the planet.
And the reason
Outside
why
of Tom Cruise.
and we
Yeah.
wanted to do this frame, this thumbnail, because that image of Michelle there is barely doctored. Like the
Wow.
background is was punched up a bit, but it is
Right.
the same angle.
Yes.
That's
Nothing else
amazing.
is doctored
That's
about that.
amazing.
The fact that it matches so closely,
And
we had to lead with that.
We spent a lot of time and resources on ensuring that our camera placement, this was a big deal that did not make
Mhm.
the edit, was as close to the source material as
Mm,
possible.
Yeah.
So that at the end of the episode, when you see the side by side, it's actually satisfying. There was a much cheaper version of this where we could have placed the cameras much tighter to the body of the plane, and it would have been a different shot. It would have been the same feeling potentially, but it would not have had this holy smokes,
Mhm.
they're the same
Yeah.
feeling to it.
I feel like the lesson here for creators is make the video only you could make.
Right.
Yes.
Mhm.
Obviously, you're the only person who can make this video. But for us, we made a video called 13 years worth of YouTube knowledge in 46 minutes. It's one of our better performing videos. And it actually is only a video we could have made.
Right.
So whatever that
Yeah.
version is for you, it may be this.
I
Yeah.
absolutely agree. And something that we, did from the beginning of Challenge Accepted that I'm proud of now too is to, when we're ideating, thinking of concepts, titles, and thumbnails that are so special and unique and different that only our team could tell, that people will be markedly surprised when they realize that's a real frame.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
This
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
like an iPhone shot of me holding onto a C stand with a fan or something like that. And then we,
Mhm.
replace the whole thing in editing. That's a real image. And I always want people to be blown away by the reality of the situations that we're putting ourselves in.
Yeah. I think similar to Max, like Max does stuff that's so ridiculous that you kind of have no choice but to click in and look at it.
Mhm.
And then when you click in and look at it, not only does he do the punchline in the thumbnail, when you click in, he's doing that action that he just said he was doing. Like if he's actually running for mayor, it's like
Mhm.
Yeah.
the VO is typically like, this is me running for mayor. And you're like, oh, you actually did this. And then you watch the journey. And basically what I'm saying is I feel similarly about this video where it's like, you look at something and you're like, did that really happen? And then you watch the journey to see it happen.
And, we'll get into the edit soon, but that's something we wanted to make sure in the cold open was that you actually see, oh, you better strap in because this is about to happen.
Right. There's so
this is
many
frame one.
moments of like promise that have to happen on YouTube, right? Of like, no, trust me, it's like you're going to want to sit in for this. No, trust me. I think that's actually one of the most significant differences between making something for streaming or for the movies, like a movie theater versus YouTube, where like the assumption that you have someone's attention is where the difference is. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Like on
Absolutely.
YouTube, we don't assume that we
Yeah.
have your attention
Right.
almost ever. We have to continue to earn your attention constantly. And I think the way that like typically a piece of content has been made in the past is my assumption is if you're watching, I have your attention, at least for a little bit, for longer than you do
Right.
on YouTube.
All right, should we watch the
Yeah.
beginning?
Yeah, let's watch the beginning.
So for this stunt, it's performed without goggles, without a helmet, without a parachute.
This is dangerous.
Good sound design, guys.
Incredible sound
Yeah.
design.
Thank
Good
you.
sound
Shout out to
design.
Ando, our amazing sound designer.
But also you did confirm the click, like you were saying.
Mhm.
That, like
Yeah.
you click on that thumbnail and it's immediate, okay, yeah, she apparently is doing this.
She's like on the side of a military aircraft.
yeah.
She for real did it.
Yeah,
Like,
okay, wow. She really did this.
yeah, the exact first frame is just like, yeah, you for real did that.
But there is some restraint in that we didn't show the takeoff.
right, you didn't
In the entire cold open. I mean, you see it in the thumbnail, but when you click into the episode, you see everything up until the plane leaving, which I think is enough. And we do reserve that special moment until the very end.
It's a good point because when I watched that part, I was wondering if that was a debate when like the plane, you would think one of the other options for this cold open would be right, and
The
you guys
transition.
sitting and being like,
Yep.
and they're like 3, 2, 1, right?
But the
And-
static energy is almost scarier
yeah,
in a way. It reminds me actually of F1, like
Mm.
before
Mm-hmm.
the race actually starts and you hear the engines.
Yeah.
And
Right,
you're
like-
seeing the lights change
Mhm.
color.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of that sequence.
Totally.
yeah, that did feel very, very cool and intentional. And that sound design truly is like, it's like it makes you feel very anxious, right? The the difference between like the very loud, and it's getting louder every time,
Mhm.
right? It's
Yep.
getting louder and more intense, and then the silence of you in the room being like, so it's no goggles, no, yeah, it's good.
And not just louder, but the like what is motivating each sound starts to change.
Mm.
And so the propellers have its own unique sound. The heat blast from the propeller has its own unique sound, because those are all different obstacles or things that Michelle has to overcome, rather than it just being loud plane noises for 20 seconds. It's every time we cut back to the plane, we are introducing through audio a new fear, a new tension, a new conflict that she's dealing with, whether it's the heat or the sound of the propellers, or the sound of the plane itself.
You're also going wider every
Mhm.
shot,
Yeah.
right? You're
Yep.
starting tight on like,
Yep.
here's our subject, she's on the plane, then you go wider.
Yep. To
then you
slowly
wider,
reveal
wider,
the antagonist of the piece, which is the plane itself. And a lot of this episode is how do we personify an inanimate, like an airplane as our antagonist.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. That like
Yeah.
the plane is the antagonist.
It
Is
is.
that
Yeah.
something you guys had like when you go
Mhm.
into an episode, do you think about that? Do you go like if
Yeah.
Michelle's the
Yeah.
protagonist,
Absolutely.
who or what is the antagonist?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll see in a lot of our cold opens, that is what we're playing with, is the relationship between Michelle and the antagonist. Here it's the plane. And so the whole episode, if we're going through like feature length story structure, every plot point that would involve the antagonist, in this episode, it's the plane. Like the plane is filling that plot point. For our Houdini episode, it's the case of water. And so all those inserts of building the tension of what it's like to be underwater in the first minute. For our boxing episode, it's setting up her literal opponent,
Right.
Andrea. So yeah.
And we make intentional choices when it comes to, whether people notice or not, I'm not sure, but Garrett spends a lot of time with Ando, who does our sound design and editing, on personifying that, like what is the tone of the plane, and working with Ryan, who does our color correction. How are we color correcting the plane? Does it feel villainous? Like these are subtle but big choices
yeah.
that we make.
There was a big discussion about how to personify the plane, and something that our sound designer and I were sort of going back and forth about, which excites me, is like we wanted to treat the C-130 as a dragon, essentially, that Michelle is going to attempt to ride for the first time and tame and almost domesticate in a way. And like, how do you fly this thing? And so, well, dragons have like this deep guttural growl. Can we give the plane a sense of like a growl?
Wow, that's
What's
cool.
fun is the stunt team is in the fuselage during the stunt. They're literally in the belly of the beast for this episode. And so we installed all of those red lights in the plane to make it
Yeah,
feel.
that was a cinematic choice. The
That was a
plane does
good
not have
choice.
red lighting.
That was a
Interesting.
really
That's
good
a
It was
great
choice.
decided
choice.
4 hours before the shoot.
So that it would feel
I was
like
like,
this
yeah.
like belly of the
danger
beast.
zone,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and
that's a great choice.
And the fuselage, the inside of the plane has its own soundscape, has its own ambience, because it needs to feel like you're inside the beast.
Mhm.
And that has its own set of challenges. Like the stunt team is just as isolated as Michelle is on the outside of the plane.
Yeah. And that it's like we can't reach each other
Mhm.
through the
Yep.
wind.
Yep.
the
that
plane.
came through.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely came
I just really love the terminology of like belly of the beast and
Yes.
Dragon Slayer, because it really
Mhm.
brings me back to all of whenever we've edited a doc, we always write out our scenes on note cards.
Yep.
And we put them in the right order and
Mhm.
we rearrange them. But every time we give new names to different things,
Yeah.
like there's always a climbing the mountain or something.
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
every
yeah.
time, no matter
Yeah.
what it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that reminds me of the Mr. Beast Burger doc that we did
Mhm.
when, basically tens of thousands of more people show up to the opening of Beast Burger than Jimmy thinks.
Yep.
And the way we thought about that was a storm. And we
Mhm.
tried to understand like at what point how close were we to the eye of the storm?
Totally.
And there's
and
like,
it totally came through.
yeah. And there's
It's
like
so cool.
one
Yeah.
moment so we worked around that moment
Yep.
of like, Yeah, seeing the
that's the
storm from the
antagonist.
outside. Yeah,
personifying
Exactly.
not each individual person, but the mass of people as a whole.
And I guess for the framework of your show, for Challenge Accepted, the inherent antagonist is always the challenge, but the challenge then becomes embodied through a thing like the plane, and then the thing needs to get personified. That's super interesting.
I think it's important
that.
to assign that, you know, in any story you're doing, because it can really recenter you when you are lost in the mounds of footage of
For
what
sure.
am I doing here, what's going on, and it can inform the shot choices you make, even the music choices you make, and in fact for this I feel like it made us return back to what is it like when they ride Toothless for the first time in How to Train Your Dragon? What is the arc of that scene versus the first time someone rides a dragon in Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon?
Yeah.
Even though tonally they're very different, they all kind of have a little bit of the same arc.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
That's cool.
All right, should we keep going?
Yes.
In 2015, Tom Cruise shocked the world by performing one of the deadliest stunts ever captured on film.
This will be the second time this stunt is ever accomplished. The first being Tom Cruise.
What Tom and the whole stunt team did was pretty amazing. This is like Tom's stunt, but this is going to be your own.
I will be working with professional stuntmen to safely rig myself to the side of a $60 million plane, world-class skydivers to help train my body to endure 170-mile-per-hour winds.
Come on, Michelle, let's go, let's go, let's go.
And utilizing cutting-edge technology to protect my body once it's 2,000 feet in the air.
I must look possessed.
It's about to get real.
That's exciting.
That last shot is so insane.
That's such an exciting open.
Yeah, that last shot is insane.
It's so weird to watch these sometimes because I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. That's so crazy. Like,
Yeah, it must be bizarre.
feels very bizarre, very out of body, and it also puts me back. I'm like, okay, I'm here. I'm
I'm
with
on the ground.
Colin
Yeah.
and Samir.
Yeah.
We're inside a safe
We're
place.
all good. We're
So
just
let me tell you
podcasting.
the one shot, I mean, sure you can guess because it was probably super intentional, but there's one shot in there that piqued my interest more than anything. That
Oh.
was like,
Guess, if you had to
just
guess.
guess.
Of that opening?
Yeah. And
Aside from
we all talked about it. Everyone who watched it
Hmm.
talked about this one shot.
I feel like you have to know.
The takeoff? I don't know.
No,
no, because you don't show the takeoff.
Garrett, you
No,
can
well,
guess.
the going down the road.
Wow.
The contacts.
The
Yeah,
contact.
yeah.
Oh.
There's a guy
Yeah.
sticking his finger deep
In your
into your
eye,
eye,
and your eye is
then
completely black
you
at one
come up
point.
with a black eyeball.
So we always say
Yeah.
that once you confirm the click, once someone clicks on your video and they watch and they go, yes, this is the video I wanted, you need to open new loops.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what you did here. You not only made it personal, we understand why you want to recreate this shot, but then you open up this new loop of there's multiple in there, but the one that stuck out to us was, oh my gosh, why is that guy putting his finger deep into
Yeah.
her eye?
Yeah.
And why is her eye completely
There was a lot of
black?
debate about what to include in the cold open and how many of the nitty-gritty details do we include. And a lot of that decision came from something that we do a lot. We don't really have a term for it. We sort of refer to it as like how we would pitch it to a friend. And we do this a lot where I think back to day one when we had this idea and we would pitch this story to someone like a friend of ours. And I would say, okay, Michelle's going to recreate Tom Cruise's biggest stunt. She's going to hang off the side of a plane. And we learn that there's these special contact lenses that she has to wear. The plane is super difficult to find, whatever it is. We sort of realized the things that we use to hook them in just a friend-to-friend conversation are some, like, why not use those same things in the cold open? And honestly, and then after you've pitched it, you see what first few questions they ask you back. The first question when we pitched this video to people was, how are you going to get the plane? Every time. Question number one. So that's the first big problem that we solve in the episode. Question number two, I heard Tom had to use special contact. Like when we posted a teaser of this on Twitter, everyone was like, oh, but does she know about the contact lenses? And I was like, see, that's something people
And
care
it's interesting
about.
because,
Really interesting.
the contact lenses are definitely a bizarre story point specific to this episode. But, I think at Onset, we're like, okay, people want to care. They're going to care about the wind tunnel training and like the physical running. But, Like that's what people have questions about. They wanted to know everything. Ooh, so you're going to some cool celebrity optometrist? What's that like? They want to know what does it mean, the technicalities of that. So we allowed that to bend in that way. And I think the first version of this cold open may not have included the contact.
It didn't.
This is a very deep version 3000 of this cold open.
And we weren't really feeling it. And eventually we walked back to, well, what are the things people were engaging with us on when we were just talking to them about or pitching it to them? And it was the contacts, how to find the plane, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Man, that is such a good piece of advice to, either in actual conversation, go like, take stock of what are the questions people are asking me about this idea or this thing I just did. But even if you don't do that, anticipating what are the questions, whether just sitting down and being like, okay, I did this thing. Now, what would people obviously ask or not believe? Like that. That's a really good framework. Mark Rober actually told us that the way he validates his ideas is by sharing them at a party and seeing if people lean in or not. And he's like, if
we
they're
do this too.
You do it too?
I'll be honest. I've asked you guys whether or not you realize you've been a part of my tests in the past.
Oh, yeah. Your focus group.
Yeah, of course.
And
it's not intentionally.
I'm actually like,
I'm not like walking around
great.
focus grouping people.
We don't even get like a $25 Panera Bread gift card. That's like typically what you get in a focus group, right?
Okay. But yeah, like I really value y'all's feedback. So sometimes when I'm like, hey, Samir, this is what I'm working on, I will very closely pay attention to the first thing you say, whether it's positive or if you look off in the distance and think about something and you're like trying to put it together, that's feedback to me of, you know what, the pitch isn't succinct enough. It's not tight enough. 100%. He has to think through whether or not it's good. Something needs to change.
A big one for us for our 90-day black belt episode, we would pitch that to people. And the first thing they would say is, wow, that's crazy. But like, is that appropriate? Trying to get a black belt in only 90 days.
Interesting. Oh, good it's like disrespectful of the craft.
Good to know. We knew that going in, but the fact that it was everyone's first question meant, well, we're going to address that head on. And that became the story. Like, is that okay?
The fact that people have questions is the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Like you always need to make sure there are questions that people want answered.
Yeah.
It means people want to know more.
Yeah. And when you have the thumbnail of her hanging off the side of the plane, and we show parts of the takeoff, they're already thinking, okay, so she must do it. And now we need to engage them in completely other, like, okay, you thought that was cool. Well, here's all these other things you didn't know.
Yes.
That you might find even
like
more interesting.
This story is going places you never thought it would go.
Like why you're pitching to me, why should I not just go to the end and watch? Like read the last page of the book. You know, like
the goal for every scene is when you have a finale that's hanging off the side of the plane, can you make every scene that comes before that more interesting than that scene? And that is very difficult, but that is what we strive to try to do.
So we're just talking like intro right now, but I think it's like extremely important because again, this is everything we're talking about is like the YouTuber's DNA of earning attention, right? Of earning the trust of the audience to go, all right, I'll give you 40 minutes. Because now you're asking for 40 minutes. You're not asking for 10 minutes anymore. You're not asking for 20 minutes. You're asking for 40 minutes. That's a lot of time. There's one other thing that I think is really crucial and we can't stop thinking about it. It's like one of the most, it should be one of the most elementary forms of storytelling advice, but we got it from one of our favorite filmmakers of all time, Max Joseph. He has worked with Casey Neistat for a long time. He worked with them on Make It Count, which is like one of my favorite YouTube videos ever. But he said every good story has an A to Z, meaning an A to Z is established up top where the audience knows, okay, this story is over when X happens. So he says in Make It Count, they use the map and they're like, he's like, when we travel around the world, when this line connects back to this line, the story is done. So it's like a visual representation of stay until this happens. And like, you can have some peace as an audience member when you're watching that you're like, I know I'm not at the end, but I kind of know where I am in this progress bar without giving me a progress bar. So I think you guys, like this type of concept does that really well of here's what's going to happen. She's going to take off and she's going to be hanging off the side of the plane. When that happens, this story is over.
Then I can have that sense of relief. Of, okay.
But until that happens, the story's not over. And so you're understanding at least this framework of, okay, I'll sit here for 40 minutes because that's A and this is Z. So I think that's something I thought about when I was watching this.
You've brought up problems. You said the plane is the first problem.
Yes.
And the contacts were another problem. How do you think about making sure you have enough problems to get someone through 40 minutes worth of an episode? Do you anticipate the problems before you embark on this journey? How much of the problems just arise of like, oh, I guess now I'm doing it, I need contact lenses?
Before we go out to fully greenlight an episode, we typically will only pursue it if we think there are enough conflict to make it interesting, enough obstacles for me or our team to overcome for there to be a rich story. If there aren't enough of those, it's not a good story, in my opinion, worth telling. And I think what's interesting about documentary in particular is, yes, we can have an idea of here are some problems we'll hit along the way, but you also have to have the humility of allowing the moment for when new problems arise and they kind of become the focus of the edit. I think the contacts are a good example of that. That could have been a very short part of the video, but people were very interested in it. It was a much bigger problem than we anticipated. So I think it's a push and pull of planning well, but then having humility to the story.
I noticed that as I was watching, you guys do a really good job making sure that once a problem is solved, a new problem is introduced really quickly so that I'm not left hanging in between. So the first problem is the plane, right? And it's a very fun thing to watch you go through, and you guys do great edits on that. There's a lot of comedy in it. It's just great edits. But immediately after the plane, there's not necessarily a tangible problem for the stunt, but the problem that's introduced is Garrett's relationship to you, which is super interesting. That right after the plane is solved, it's like Garrett has a very intimate relationship with you because you guys are married, and he on a previous challenge had a panic attack based on something you were doing. So now you get this new problem immediately, and you're leaned in on this relationship. And I think like right after that, another problem. So you guys do a really good job of going like problem solution, but once a problem is solved, a new problem is introduced immediately.
Right.
I also think what's important to note, and what you guys do really well, is it's not introduce problem, solve it. Introduce problem, solve it. It's introduce problem, maybe solve a little bit of it, new problem.
Yeah.
Cut out before it's getting solved, new problem. And you have such an incredible commitment to making sure that the problems are re-engaged. There's one problem that gets opened, which is you're afraid of birds, and birds pose danger
I don't
to
like
you.
birds.
You don't like birds, and birds could be very dangerous to you when you're attached to this plane. And there is a shot at the end that's very brief of just a bird in the sky before you take off. And I was like, oh, that one's back. That problem is back.
That shot is over me, my dialogue saying, I'm feeling incredibly anxious right now.
Yes. Right.
And we immediately cut to the visual representation of unpredictability, which is a bird.
So two problems have come into one. And I was just like, wow, like they will never, this crew will never open up a problem without making sure you're satisfied and you get to the end of that problem.
I was attacked by birds once. Dead seriously. I'm not even joking. You remember this? I called Colin to tell him about it. It was in Denver, Colorado. It was a miserable experience. I was walking and there was a tree and a bunch of birds. And I was like, oh, that's a lot of birds. And I walk under the tree and I start feeling this like very sharp.
See, this is what I'm talking about, Garrett.
You have a lot of bird encounters too on this.
I have had a bird encounter.
Extremely sharp pain coming and hitting my head and my body. And I just start sprinting indoors. And once I get indoors, I'm like so freaked out. Everyone inside is like looking at me like, did we just see you get attacked by birds? I've been attacked by birds.
Wow.
They are apparently related to dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are scary.
Right. I was trying to see where that was going. I was like, wait. No, but it's a real fear. It's a real fear.
Yeah, to go back to conflict.
Garrett's like, what show is this again?
Oddly enough, sometimes we actually find ourselves taking conflict out because we have too many different pieces of conflict, and it's really about which conflict to focus on. I mean, there were dozens of storylines that aren't even touched in the episode just because they didn't feed into the plot points I personally use Snyder's Beats, the Save the Cat feature structure for every episode that we make.
Explain that for people.
Blake Snyder wrote a book, Save the Cat, one of the greatest books of storytelling ever written. It's an amazing template to sort of structure a narrative story, a hero's journey on. And it's mainly for feature films, but this is what I learned in film school and like what my brain is now programmed to. So I know it very, very acutely. And every episode of Challenge Accepted that we make, I attach into that skeleton at first. Then we might play an experiment, but we always try to start there. And if something's not working in an edit, it's usually because we deviated very far off the path without realizing. And so when we're deciding what conflict to choose in each episode, it often comes down to, do those conflicts relate to the plot points that we are using in the Snyder's beats for this episode? The story, honestly became more about the crew and Michelle leading the crew and leading the team and the team's success than just Michelle pulling off a feat solo.
Yeah, you can't have a conflict that takes you too far away from the core conflicts that you have put your stake in the ground in. You're like, these are the 3 or 4 conflicts that are going to drive the entire story. And we need to make sure that we never get too far away from one so that someone forgets. The last thing you want is a conflict that comes back 15 minutes later and someone's like, oh, I don't even care about that because I already forgot about it. So it's almost a dance of watching edits back and going, you know what we haven't gotten yet? Garrett's relationship to Michelle. We have something, let's put it in this slot.
Conflict does 2 things. It progresses the plot and it develops character. That's how stories exist. And so if your conflict isn't developing or progressing the plot that you're trying to tell, then that's what we get to what you're speaking of, which is deviating from that too much.
I also think what's interesting though is on YouTube, maybe this is me, but I crave breathing room too, in between, right? I crave kind of just like settling into certain things. And for me, that actually came through. And something that I wish I saw more of in this is when you shot with your iPhone and showed like your lucky underwear. And I think there's this really interesting thing that I wanted to talk about with this of like, as YouTube, and you guys are pushing this quite a bit, but as YouTube gets like higher production, more intense stunts and quality, I don't want to lose the like iPhone, accessibility of everything. So like that was a great moment of like breathing room for me of personality. And I wanted more of that in this episode. That's something that I would say I wanted more of. Like I just want, I want to know more about even like your guys' conversations at home of like, what are you guys thinking about this with each other? Like in your married life, like this is pretty insane that you're going to hang off the side of a plane. And you see that at the end with your reaction to it. But I would love to see some of like that rawness in like sitting in the car on the way to set or something like that. Is that something that's either intentionally not in or that you think about in the process?
I think if it's, you guys talk a lot about shots versus moments.
Yeah.
And to me, if it's a moment, it doesn't matter what camera it's captured on. You got to go for it.
But sometimes if we didn't get it, we didn't get it. Like some of those conversations.
Got it.
Yeah. And I would say, I'll be completely honest with you guys, that this was a really big one in the sense of we wanted to make sure we did it well and we did it right. And there were times when those conversations you're talking about happened, but they needed to happen off camera.
Got it.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's serious topics we're covering and discussing. And, whether it's me and Garrett or our team, I want to, like, our number one priority is doing it safely, doing it well, making something amazing. And sometimes that means turning the camera off to make sure that the whole crew and everybody knows exactly where their mark is, what's going on, and those serious conversations happen. I totally agree with you that, yeah, I think in hindsight, it would have been great to have cameras out, but also I'm really happy that like everybody hit their mark. And we do as a team, I think, take a lot of pride and sensitivity in knowing when to not film those things too.
Yeah, I hear you.
Because also as a creator, we have a big responsibility to show things like ethically. And what we don't want to do is create this piece that, like, if we're having these conversations that like could have been really interesting to listen in on, some of those conversations touch on things that like would start to make the audience without full context go, oh, is this like super irresponsible and dangerous to do a stunt like this?
Sure.
In reality, it's it's not based on the training that Michelle has and the things that we sort of put in place. A really nice quote that I heard recently that has kind of stuck with us. Penn from Penn and Teller was talking about Houdini's ideology and his philosophy, and which was you should never do a stunt or a trick that is more on stage, that it would actually be more dangerous than just sitting in your living room at home. And that was really interesting to me, because I thought, well, Houdini did the water torture cell and all these other things. But I started to realize that all of those tricks had built-in safety mechanisms to make sure that they were done ethically and morally in front of an audience, so that you're not giving real fear or panic to an
And that
audience.
each performer has trained it so much that it is comfortable, you know?
And so we use that for all of our episodes. Like, water torture cell, very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, or you don't have somebody there ready to axe down the glass. This stunt, I mean, this stunt is, yes, Michelle had to train her body for all of the crazy conditions that it was going to be put through. But at the end of the day, the stunt is a math equation for the rigging. And once you solve that, theoretically, it should be fine.
Yeah, you're not being reckless.
Yes.
Right.
And that, and some of those conversations, which we did debate, showing more of those. We had a few more, but without like the full context and spending so much runtime, really making the audience understand the full nuance of it.
We're very sensitive to the responsibility that we have on YouTube of, I want people to see this and feel inspired to do something big in their own lives. This is not necessarily the playbook for someone to do this at home.
Sure.
Necessarily.
So for the last clip, I don't want to play the ending and the conclusion, because I do want everyone to go watch it. I think it's worth investing the time and like getting that payoff for yourself. But I want to play the solution to the plane problem.
Okay.
So that's the first problem that you bring up that everyone wanted to know the answer to. And I want to watch the scene where you get the solution, and we can talk about that.
We have located the aircraft, the C-130. Get it available.
This C-130, called the Hercules, named after the most popular god of Greek mythology, famous for his incredible power, versatility, and achieving the difficult.
Through his contacts at the Red Bull Air Force, Sean was able to secure a C-130 Hercules, which is not only very similar to the A400M, but it's the same type of plane Tom Cruise jumped out of during the 2024 Paris Olympics.
I wanted to show that because I love the vintage footage of the C-130. And as I was watching, I did realize in that moment, oh, they're character building this airplane. Like this really matters. And it was also the first time where I get an immediate win as an audience member and as a viewer, where I know the problem was just introduced. And then that's the quickest gap between problem and solution is airplane. And it felt intentional to me that it was like, let's give you a problem and get you a win very early, of like a low and a high.
Well, we knew we had to solve that one pretty quickly, because the opening scene, we're already at the plane, which means, well, she must have gotten the plane. We're already scouting the plane. And that was just an interesting story choice. We started the story once at the wind fan, once we started this episode at finding the plane, because that's the first problem to solve. And then we realized that we weren't hitting our Snyder's beats in the way that is satisfying. And so we actually rearranged the beginning a little bit, so that we just found out that the first several beats of Snyder's beats, the like opening image, theme stated, the debate, and the catalyst were all captured for real in that first location scout, the first scene of the episode, well, what became the first scene. And so we actually had to take finding the plane itself and put it after we've already, like, us already being there, which feels counterintuitive, but us finding the plane is actually like, once we found the plane, that gives us our catalyst. And so now Michelle can go on the journey to actually learn how to hang off the side of it. But it was mostly just a choice to get the structure in line for it to be satisfying.
Yeah. And I love the use of vintage footage anytime we can get it, because it tells us we're dealing with a subject matter that has a rich history. And also, without us even saying it, emphasizes how difficult it is to find one of these, because there are so few of them. They're used by the military, and just reminds us of that again.
A lot of the personification of the plane for us was, how can we make it, again, like a dragon, which is a mythical creature, and using this archival footage, literally comparing it to a Greek myth god, was sort of
Hercules.
the idea of, oh, this aircraft is this mythical being that Michelle's going to try to wrangle.
By the way, Sean McCormick to me is also a mythical being.
Agreed.
100%.
He's so amazing.
So for context, he's like he's the captain of the Red Bull Air.
He's a national champion skydiver, Red Bull athlete.
He's the
member of the Red
guy.
Bull Air Force.
Yeah, member of the Red Bull Air Force. Yeah, we one time, he worked with Yes Theory a lot back in the day. And one time, Amar's 25th birthday. Do you remember this?
I will never forget this.
Amar's 25th birthday.
Because I did not want to go skydiving again.
Is this an example of you getting invited to do plane things?
Situation. This is a
situation.
plane thing.
Yeah.
This is a plane thing that we actually did. So we show up to Skydive Paris, and Sean McCormick comes out and he goes, guys, you wouldn't believe it, but we just got greenlit to do something that has never been done before in skydiving. And I look at Colin, I'm like, why? Let's just do the normal thing. Let's do the normal.
I'm like, Samir, why are we even friends with these guys?
Can we just do the normal skydive thing? And basically we flew 2 planes up at the same time and jumped out together.
That's really cool.
Like out of the back. It was insane.
Sean's crazy.
But Sean is awesome. But I bring up Sean because also like in connection with this whole project, you announced something pretty significant with Red Bull, right?
Yeah.
Can you explain that? Because Red Bull's role in this is pretty significant. And you've been doing a lot more with Red Bull. They seem to have unlocked the access to this plane, right?
Yes. I'm so excited we get to talk about this now because this getting to work with Red Bull in the way that we are now has been a 10-year long dream of mine. So in 2015, when I was a professional cyclist and still working at BuzzFeed, I applied to be a Red Bull athlete. And I was very swiftly rejected, and rightfully so, because I wasn't ready. But what was very, very special about that was it sort of sent me on the path that basically became Challenge Accepted. And now, this year, we were invited to sign with Red Bull as a creator. So we're Red Bull creator, which is really, really cool. And what it means is that Red Bull is basically collaborating with us on a series. This is just the first of many massive stunts we're going to be doing for the next couple of years. And it's a huge dream come true for me in a lot of ways because I obviously think of like, you know, a Red Bull athlete and just Red Bull as a brand is the pinnacle of badassery. And, you know, to work with them on something like this is extremely special because Sean is the person who connected us with the owners of the C-130. Like he made this possible.
Why does he know the owners of the C-130?
Why doesn't he? I mean, he's the plane guy.
Yeah, I guess he's Sean McCormick. Yeah.
You know how many plane situations he's been in?
Plane situation.
He's in a perpetual plane situation.
Yeah. And
congratulations though. That is
yeah,
really
that's
cool.
huge.
It is
my God.
It's also a really unique type of partnership in the creator world, right? We're so used to this video is brought to you by here's 60 to 90 seconds that, you know, they've asked that we share and we partner to share. But this is truly Red Bull just elevating the entire experience for all of us because they were able to get you access. And I think Sean being able to be an authentic character that is necessary for this to happen is also such a cool thing. It couldn't be more natural to have them involved.
And they're amazing to work with. I mean, even for this project, there are members of the Red Bull Air Force who are piloting the helicopter carrying the Cineflex camera. Aaron Fitzgerald, who's on Red Bull Air Force, he, and not only in addition to performing helicopter stunts for Red Bull, also does helicopter cinematography for film and TV shows. And he came out and shot all of the exteriors of me on the plane. So something that's just really special about working with these people is they're so giving with their time and energy and connections. And the coolest thing about them is you can literally take any idea to these meetings and they will not look at you like you're crazy, which is special and unique for us because most of the time our ideas, you know, people react in a lot of ways to them, but they're always like, huh, you know what, that makes me think of this person I know. And I just love, I love being with people who are not just big dreamers, but also doers. Something I really love about our team at Challenge Accepted is, you know, anyone on our team, you can throw them in a room and they'll come up with crazy ideas that are, you know, massive YouTube videos or TV shows, whatever it may be. But then we can all transition into a second half of the meeting and think critically about, okay, if we are going to do Tom Cruise's plane stunt, who do we know at the FAA? Can we call them? Can we email them? I think we need an experimental permit to do this. You know what? Someone I was on set with a couple weeks ago worked with the guys who were on F1. Like, that is how our team operates, is dream really big, but then execute and think about every detail too.
So does that mean, like, will you get a Red Bull hat? Or do creators not get hats? Like what,
It's creators are different from athletes.
Okay, got it. Because that, I think, for people who don't know, like, you cannot get a Red Bull hat unless you're a Red Bull athlete.
That's true.
That is one of the coolest brand moves ever.
It's
I think,
very,
from
very
Red Bull.
cool. Yeah.
But something that was really unique was in the last year, Ludwig had a Red Bull wrap on his mic for streaming.
Well, I think Ludwig is actually an athlete.
Yeah, he's an
esports
athlete.
athlete.
That's right.
So I'm in a different Okay,
so you're
arena.
the first of its kind.
You must be the arena, right?
There are a couple other Red Bull creators, but yeah, there aren't many. So it's very, very special and exciting.
Yeah, that's cool. I think the Red Bull is like definitely at the forefront of how brands operate on YouTube, in my opinion, because obviously we say that, like, brands need to do two things really well. One, they have to operate like creators, so make their own content that creators can step into, because I assume some of this will be like, you might show up on the Red Bull channel.
We will be showing up on the Red Bull channel,
So
which is exciting.
they have to create an ecosystem where they have a thing that creators can step into. And then on the other side is they have to show up really authentically in our ecosystems, in our content. So like Sean McCormick is an embodiment of Red Bull. The plane is now an embodiment of Red Bull in your video, which is great, because there's no forced mechanic of like, here's the brand deal. It's just you feel the relationship through the content. And I think that for me is like the next era of how brand relationships should happen on YouTube, which I guess is similar to like movies and classic entertainment business. Like the current version or the previous version of a brand deal is kind of like a radio ad, right? That we have always like classically done in the middle of our content. I think we are going to mature and graduate out of that now.
Yeah, it's maturing into product placement, into spokesperson instead of talking point. You know
Which
what I mean?
is great. Yeah.
I love it.
Which is great.
It feels so much more natural. And I think, Red Bull and brands like it are really ahead of many other like influencer marketing campaign opportunities.
And you said a little bit about like, because they release their own videos. And I think that helps so much because they understand why their own videos will perform or not perform well. So that they know when we go to make a video with them, they understand when we say, okay, we have to open it like this and there's no wiggle room there. They're like, of course, we understand that because we know we have that data too.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that really helps.
I like that.
Like they understand the landscape.
I think that's actually one of the biggest differences from the last go around when there was kind of this thought of bringing creators to Hollywood, was like, oh, they're talent. Lily Singh is talent. Put Lily Singh on camera and we will make the show. But Lily Singh is an editor, right? And so when you sit her down in the chair, she should be the one actually taking it all the way. And now I think in 2025, what we're seeing even post Amazon and Beast Games is people treating creators as production companies. Like you're talking about, you are a production company.
Yes.
That's a tangible difference now because you know how the video should come together.
Yeah.
And I just think that is one of the biggest, like what you're just talking about, of like a great actor knows like the focal lengths and what a camera feels like.
And I appreciate that distinction now with this era of YouTube and YouTube creators, because I notice it when I go on other people's sets, especially if you're on a traditional set, when the crew realizes, oh, I have to wait for the slate to come in, or, oh, I'm going to be mindful of how quickly I say this talking point because the sound guy has been holding a boom pole for 30 minutes and his arms are tired. I want to be super hyper aware of that anytime I'm on anyone else's set because it makes me a better talent and it also makes me a better leader. For now, we have a large group of people who are making this happen. So it allows me to be a more empathetic leader in that case too.
One of Michelle's superpowers is being an incredible producer. And that's a lot. And I think you guys talked about this on the last episode, but her ability at BuzzFeed to learn every single role and know it inside and out helps her understand what every crew member is going in. And now she can be the best talent she can be for that crew member because she understands what their job is.
I'd be curious, how did that come to fruition on this episode specifically? Like, is there a moment that was difficult or a moment where you made an adjustment where you as not just talent, but also creator are working with Garrett and working with everyone to like shift or make an adjustment?
It's a really interesting bifurcation of my brain because on one hand, there is producer Michelle, who Meta is aware of the concept and this is going to be great. And then there is talent me, or the person, the guinea pig in the experiment, who is thinking, this is a really hard moment for me to go through. But also then the producer version of me says, but this is the story. This is this failure, this pain. This is the story. It's important to sit in it. So that happens all the time on these shoots. But I think what was exciting for me about a producer on this project was to learn from Tom's example of really diving into everything. So I'm involved in every aspect of production. I want to know, what are we having for lunch on set? Is everyone's dietary restrictions accounted for? How is that going to feel like going into the second half of the day? When are the breaks? Where's the lighting? What camera are we shooting on? Do our editors know the frame rate of a red Komodo, and how do we transcode all of that footage? But specifically for this stunt, I was very excited to work with Steve, our stunt coordinator, who we've worked with for years at this point, because it was a technical challenge of where do we place the lines on this plane that is markedly different from the original source vehicle that they used. And not only how can we place them in a technical perspective to keep me safe and look okay, but also open up enough to camera. Because there's a version of this stunt where you can rig all of the lines very safely, but your face is planted into the plane. That's technically, one might say, the safest position to do this from. But it doesn't work, because how do you tell a story, regardless of whether or not we're recreating Tom's stunt? Even if I was just doing this myself, I'd want my face to be visible to camera so the audience can experience what I'm experiencing.
Yeah, that's hard. That you have to like produce yourself and also just experience it.
Yeah.
And you probably have to really try to not overproduce yourself and be like, I have to just like, this has to really be me.
Yeah.
Not the storybook version of me.
Oh, of course.
Do you know what I mean? And I would think that is challenging in this.
But that's why, like, I think it's important to have checks and balances within the team. Because there are definitely times when, I have a vision or a perspective, and Garrett or other members of our team are like, actually, this moment is that sucks, is so ugly that you feel the worst about. That's the one that everyone's going to comment on. And I have to sit with that and say, like, you know what, you're right. Yeah. So it's, challenge accepted is truly a personal journey for me, because it's not just about the physical and mental strain, but it's also like a hit to my pride at times. And that's something I Meta have to go through as well. But I think having the team around us to really push that story forward, even when it's to my detriment. Sure. I don't know how to explain that the best, but I think that's what makes it good.
The last time you were on the show, you said that challenge accepted episodes can cost anywhere between $10,000 and $30,000.
Mm-hmm.
I have to imagine that has changed.
It has.
Yeah. I look at the scale of this, and I'm like, I'm sure Red Bull helps, right? Like, because if they can unlock doors and unlock experiences. But like, in the world of YouTube, you have been covered a lot by the more traditional trades. Obviously, the Emmys played a role in this, but what you're making when you're watching it on a TV looks and feels now much more like something that I can watch on Netflix or any of the other streamers. And the cost has trailed with that as well, I anticipate. So how do the economics work? Because I don't feel such heavy brand presence in this episode or in a lot of your episodes. And how do you want them to work in the future? And how big, we have creators who are spending millions of dollars on episodes. Obviously, Jimmy, one of his last episodes, he said cost $4 million. So like, this is no joke now, right? What everyone's making. How do you guys think about the economics of what you're making and how the budgets are getting bigger? And is it safe to say the budget from the last time you've come has at least 10x'd?
Depends on the episode.
Yeah.
Depends on the episode.
And I would actually think, like, I want to be clear that I don't personally believe that bigger concept, bigger stunt, bigger bill leads to better video.
Sure.
I don't believe in that personally.
I agree with that,
And I think about, one of our most popular episodes, as me going to experience a 911 dispatch center. That episode is me technically on the phone with somebody for 10 minutes, like in a comfortable chair.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's riveting, and you're on the edge of your seat, I hope, watching it, because of the context and the people, and reminding ourselves, like, these are real people doing this every single day. So I would say that we're constantly trying to push the envelope in the stories we tell, but not necessarily how expensive it's going to be.
Because that episode you just brought up was one of the cheapest episodes we have ever made.
Right.
And if we had another story that was similar to that, like that, we would make it in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah.
How does a modern production company like this work in terms of like how much viewership do you think you need? How many videos do you need to make? How big can your staff be? Like when you think about this is modern TV in a way, how does it work? Like when you look back on a year?
In any given year, we have a set of goals for our company. It's in this big spreadsheet that I make every year. We have a massive 6-hour meeting where we go through all of them. It includes, how many subscribers, views, revenue, new business ventures we want to try, risks we're going to take. And every quarter we sit down and reevaluate that. Now, as a part of that, that includes income, outcome, P&Ls. We meet every single week to look at every single dollar coming in and out and what's going on. So Garrett and I are very in tune with all of that. And working alongside Nick, our head of operations, we're able to project out into the future and decide what episodes to greenlight based on that. But they have to hit all of the goals we have, not just how much do we want to spend on an episode, but does it match all of the things that are qualitatively goals for us as creative people? And then as far as the pie itself, it's AdSense, it's brand deals, but it's also the category opportunities like Red Bull in the beverage category. We're working with Adobe on this project as well. We also do, speaking engagements, personal appearances. I feel like it's very similar to you guys. So it's about maximizing each of our own personal time and really evaluating, do we want to do this or not for any opportunity?
I would say we have sort of at that meeting, we have a kind of a list of episodes we're interested in making. We know which ones are going to be the cheaper ones that we can just bankroll no problem without worrying about brands. We'll slate those in if we're passionate about those stories. But then there are those the white whale episodes.
Right.
We're okay, that's going to cost some money.
Yep.
Is it worth bankrolling without a brand attached because we're that passionate or because we know it's going to hit? If not, we will wait for the right collaboration or the right partner to come by. That's why Red Bull has been such a great recent partner, because they like most of the big crazy things that we've been pitching to them and they fit right in and they have the resources to help us unlock those things.
Oh, but to your point, I make this crazy pitch deck every year, every January. It's here are the big white whales of this year. And I spend tons of time and energy on this thing. And it's template, thumbnails, titles, example brands. We include a sizzle for the year. And that is what we and our internal team, as well as, our agents at Gersh, use to pitch these larger concepts. So starting in January, we're pitching the whole season for the year.
It's so interesting. You operate so you operate very, differently from a lot of creators, but in a way that makes a ton of sense, obviously, because you're I know my slate, right? I know a YouTube channel today, like yours, you are NBC pitching advertisers the slate of programming, right? But you're one show, I would say. You're one show, but you're the network. When you're doing that pitch deck, you are thinking as a network executive pitching the show out to advertisers. And then when you look out, are you sold through once that pitch deck goes out to all the episodes through the year?
I mean, it's a rolling thing. So, we're not going to come up with all of our ideas in January. If we come up with one in July, we update that slate constantly with the new ideas. So as things are sold, we take them off. As new ideas emerge, we add them in. But I think often about putting myself in the shoes of the executives that are reading these things. how does our slate compare to every other channel's slate
Sure.
or Google Doc they're receiving? I want it to really stand out. It's got to be visually exciting. I have a professional graphic
Yeah.
designer like go through the whole thing, and the audience for this is probably 20 people. But these are 20 very important people I want to be on the same page with us of what we're doing.
I was at one of the Emmy events having a conversation with Sean Evans.
Okay.
And I was talking to him about the premise of the Emmys. And, you know, we kind of had this conversation, but we haven't really had this conversation of like, do you feel in any way disrespected by Hollywood for not getting nominated? Or do you feel any level of kind of I don't know, like what does it feel like that whole process of the Emmys? Because it was a big thing, and then you didn't end up getting nominated.
Yeah. Well, it's special to be here to talk to you guys about it because it was 3 years ago on this show that I said it would be so cool to win an Emmy.
Yeah.
And what I think is exciting is now being back here with you guys again is I have a meaningful update to that. And that is we did the campaign. We went out and what a privilege it is to even be considered. A privilege it was to go through the independent review board process and be on the ballot next to Conan.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Are you kidding me?
That's crazy.
To be on billboards in LA.
It was very exciting, and it was a special opportunity for our team. And we were, you know, we grew a lot from that experience. And the coolest part is that's just the beginning of the journey. I mean, going after an Emmy is a 5, 10, 15-year path ahead of us. And I'm just excited about the forward progress that we made this year more than anything. I'm so proud of our team. I mean, the work that our whole team did behind the scenes, just preparing our application and the package and, you know, making us sizzle, things that will never see the light of day that our little team did together. And it brought us closer together. And I think like we have no control over whether or not a group of people or voters are going to give us an award or anything like that. But what is within our control is making the best show that we can possibly make and making an impact in the process. So I think that was honestly the coolest part of the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, you know, for me, I born and raised in LA, was always into film. Like it's always been like a pipe dream to be like, whoa, what if something like that could happen? But I just wonder now as I thought about that experience, the like question of cultural relevance or cultural penetration, meaning like the awards used to be a way for me to understand what had crossed over into culture, right? And what was like, not just that, but like what really was making an impact in culture and what was considered like high art. And I think the thing that is so interesting now is that the audience are the voters, right? Like the audience votes. And so I just wonder over time how much, and you tell me, I guess, like it is a long process. How much do you care about the Emmy as time continues to go on? And like, you are getting the validation that the show is good.
Yeah.
Right? Like from the people who are watching it and is growing. You have sponsors and advertisers, you have press covering you. Like I am sitting here from a place of being like, I would die for that validation of like the Oscars or the Emmys. But I'm just curious, now that you've gone through the experience, does it still feel like very important to you? Or do you feel relatively satiated from a validation perspective?
I mean, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going for it. We're going to make the best season we possibly can this year. And I think it's important to remember there's a reason traditional still cares about these awards. I think that people care about it because it attracts crew who want to work on something that's Emmy worthy or Emmy nominated. It attracts an audience who may have not heard of it previously. Sure. And it also attracts ad dollars. It's a way to, without even hearing the log line of the show, know that, hey, this very important group of people said it was good and worthy of advertising. We'll give it a listen. And to me, those are all signs of a maturing industry. one that I want to be a part of. And so, yes, I'm excited to keep going for it. And at the same time, I know what's within our control is making the best show we can.
Yeah.
So that's where energy is going to be primarily focused.
I think YouTube is very different in that, and maybe this is similar in Hollywood, but like we all just have such a deep pride for our own people, meaning
Yes.
like our tribe, our community, the people who are doing it on this platform. Like that felt exciting for everyone. I think everyone felt excited about that. So I think that was a really cool thing to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think this year more than ever, I'm seeing the world of Hollywood take interest in creators like in a way that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
I don't know where that nets out. Yeah,
Right.
I really don't. Because the biggest question is like, okay, Netflix comes and says, do challenge accepted on Netflix. Is that interesting, or what needs to be true for you to do that?
I think at this point it has to be access, like a new level,
Right.
which is hard to achieve. I mean, I
You just hung off the side of a plane,
Yeah.
Michelle.
You're reaching these levels.
I think you're like,
right. But
Also, I feel like there's something so exciting about like earning the level in the story
yes.
of like finding, and I'm sure you do
Mhm.
too. Yeah. Finding
The
the
story would be
plane.
very different if it was on Netflix because the viewer may feel like, oh, it's Netflix money. Like, what is
Right.
the problem?
So getting the
here?
plane
You
is
know?
no problem
Yeah.
for the Netflix version
Yeah,
of our
right,
show,
right.
perhaps.
Mhm.
But for 6 people in our office, like it is kind of
It's a big
cool,
deal.
Yeah.
It's a really
and,
big deal.
and that's something that makes it fun to watch as a viewer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we all understand that. I
Right.
think
and,
that's
and when
the
we're talking about like what makes us want to greenlight an episode being additive to the conversation.
right.
This has been done before. Tom did it.
Literally, yeah.
Paramount did it. But our story is different because this is the ragtag group of, our friends from college
Mhm.
doing it for the first time, not with a big studio, but out of our little office to make it happen.
Right.
And I get really excited about that. And I think we're always open to other opportunities, but I think the longer that Hollywood waits to present those opportunities to creators, the more difficult it will be to convince them of the value.
Agreed.
I agree with that. I think though now is the moment, but I think the value exchange needs to be really clarified now
Yeah.
because it's not just, hey, we're Netflix.
Yeah.
Now there's
Yeah.
there's so much more reason to not do it than to do it.
Mm.
And I think that's it either, in my opinion, has to be like an irrational deal where it's like, something irrational is happening where it's either a large sum of money or you get access to something that you can never get access to before, or it's really from the creator's decision perspective, a like status or
Or is that audience
Yeah.
interesting to
Mhm.
us? Yeah.
or net new audience but like you would never stop doing it on YouTube.
Right.
So it's a really interesting moment of, I don't know how
Mhm.
these worlds are going to collide yet. I'm really excited to try and figure it out because
Yeah.
Right.
I
know-
think there's value to both sides. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think there's no way we can sit and be like, there's no value over there. There's so much
Mhm.
value.
Of course.
But to solve that problem, I find is really
I feel
interesting.
like there's just like a talent pairing that can happen. When I
Yeah.
watch
Yeah.
docs on Netflix, occasionally there's some docs I don't like, but a lot of times I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is some of the best storytelling I've ever seen. And I think that there's an opportunity to pair writers
I agree.
Mm,
with a lot of us
Yeah.
who are making unscripted
Mhm.
work. Not that
Mhm.
we're
That's
not good
interesting.
writers. There's a lot of like phenomenal stories on YouTube and it's super raw and it plays to YouTube's strength. But when I watch some of the docs that are on a Netflix or some of these streamers, I'm like, oh, okay, there's something a little bit different here. Occasionally in searching
Yeah.
for the story.
totally.
Yeah, I think that might be where it happens. It's like the meshing of talent.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
but
exciting
it
to
could
me.
also happen on your channel, like it doesn't
True. It doesn't have to happen.
Like you could go to IMDb and check out your favorite doc on Netflix,
Yeah.
find out who wrote it and say, "Hey, would you
Totally.
write?"
But I think that's
It's
actually
not exclusive
but I,
to
but I think
Netflix.
that might be how it happens.
Yeah.
Where like
Mhm.
talent from, traditional Hollywood is actually getting pulled into,
Mhm.
because like, again, the budgets are going up, the scale is up.
And that's
like,
often how we hire, I mean, now with everything happening in Hollywood, like we are more and more hiring. Like there was a team of editors that we just recently collaborated with who, were working with us for 6 weeks. They just got off The Last of Us
wow.
and now they were working with us editing Challenge Accepted.
Crazy.
So I think it's really a matter of where is talent, and there are so many talented people who have worked on amazing shows, and it's such a great privilege to collaborate with them now in a new way.
So at the beginning of the conversation, you talked about how like recreating this stunt was about, or some of it was like Michelle is YouTube's Daredevil, Tom Cruise is, kind of Hollywood's Daredevil. Is there any part of it that's kind of like showing Hollywood that you can do it too? Not just the stunt, but like making this piece. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I do very blatantly say in the episode, I would love to do a stunt with you, Tom Cruise. That still remains. And I believe that when you get to a certain level of people who are at the top of their game, you have to rise to that occasion and show your own resume in the process. So for us, I think that was part of it. But I would say it was less so about let's show Hollywood what we're made of, and more like let's show our audience on YouTube how much their support has, like what their support can push us to do. I think this was more about us as creatives wanting to go that extra mile. Me as a stunt performer, Garrett as a director, Nick as a producer, Kevin as a DP, all of us just wanting to go, to the nth degree.
This is the stuff we watched when we were kids, and we want to do it ourselves. And we found a way to do it ourselves, and it's fun.
This is the 6th video, I believe, of the year. Right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at like, I was counting.
Colin knows because he counted.
Probably.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't sure if it was 5 or 6, but it's
6.
I think this is the 6th.
Yeah.
And the Try Guys, I was looking at their channel. I think they've published almost 50 videos this year.
That's awesome.
Right? So I think like people assume sometimes that YouTube operates like that, where it's just like, oh, there's always another video next week.
Right. Our model is different. It's a scarcity model. If you want to have an episode of Challenge Accepted, there are only a handful.
Yeah.
And, it creates situations where multiple brands will want one episode, and we have to work that out,
Yeah.
Another, difference between our channel and others is we only have 6 full-time staff. Now, we expand and contract based on a project's needs. Some months that can be 15 to 20 people. Sometimes it's all the way back down to 6. But I think we like to have, at this point in our company stage at least, that intimate group so that we can be nimble to be able to say no to things if they're not aligned creatively with what we want to do.
And does frequency or the lack of it feel ever as a problem for you guys, or no? Meaning frequency of uploads. So like Colin pulled these, and I thought this was super interesting, of just like some of our friends and uploads. Like Preston has done 5 uploads this year. You guys have done 6 with this video. Cleo's done 7. Jimmy has had 15. We've had 15. Eric has had 17. Try Guys 49. Ryan Trahan 55. 50 of which were consecutive.
We know where 50 was,
which is insane.
So
But I think about like the old school version of YouTube, and like frequency being such a value proposition of YouTube, like almost in the way we spoke to the former showrunner of The Walking Dead, and he was talking about how when television moved away from week to week to a binge model where it's like, here's 10 episodes, go watch them all right now. YouTube filled the void of week to week, right?
Yes,
Like
I remember that from your
if you
interview.
watch Marquez, if you watch MKBHD, it is pretty rare to go a week without watching MKBHD. So he's like a frequency creator, right? And then there is like the scarcity. And does that feel like does that feel ever to you guys like, oh man, I wish we were more frequent, or we would have a deeper connection with our community if we were more frequent?
Of course. If we could release an episode of Challenge Accepted at this magnitude every week, sign me up. I would love that. And that, of course, parlays into audience connection, frequency, being a part of someone's routine. We're honestly making these things as fast and as quickly as we possibly can while maintaining all of the tenets of greenlighting an episode that matter to us. Unfortunately, if we were to start just trying to make a ton more episodes, something would have to give.
Yeah.
And at this point, we're too, maybe to our own detriment, like beholden to like, it's got to hit these marks or it's not challenge accepted worthy.
Yeah.
When you finish in June, actually doing the stunt,
Mhm.
the next day, do you know exactly essentially the next challenge that you're doing? Like, is everything in motion?
Yes, we often film multiple challenges on top of each other. So while I was training for this, I was actually also training for the next challenge I'll be doing in November, which is.
You can tell us?
Yeah, I can tell you guys.
Oh, great.
Actually, we haven't announced this yet, so this is exciting.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, we haven't.
Yeah.
Well,
great.
Here you go. I am going to be attempting something called the Great World Race, which is running 7 marathons on all 7 continents in 7 consecutive days.
Oh my God, Michelle. What?
And
See, this is good data. This is a good reaction.
Yeah. What's your first question?
Yeah.
What's
My
your
first
first
question is how?
Why?
Okay,
How and why? Yeah.
great.
How and
And
why?
Garrett's like, this is great.
Well, that's what the episode's about. That's why I'm excited.
And who else?
Yeah.
And who else?
Yeah.
An insane group of people that I'm so excited to explore some of their stories.
Yeah,
too.
I feel like pain when you say that to me. I just feel it. I'm like, that sounds painful.
Yeah. So while I was, waking up and going to a wind tunnel, I would come home and run 14 miles.
Oh my God.
Sit in a nice bath, shower, answer 30,000 emails, take meetings,
That's
do it
crazy.
all over again.
And is there a winner of this challenge?
Oh yeah, there's
like one person who wins it.
Yes, and the person who won it last year is running it with me.
Yep.
His name is David Kilgore. He's a Red Bull athlete.
Wow.
He is incredible. But he'll be doing it again with me this
Actual
year.
like honest question.
Yes.
Have the rest not been honest?
This is just like not about video making. How do you sleep comfortably at night knowing you always have something like this on the horizon? Because my assumption would be if I was doing this Tom Cruise stunt, I'd be like, I'm going to do the stunt so I can chill the next day. Like, so I can not think about the next thing I have to do that's testing me that intensely. At least for a
I
little
would
bit.
say that when we don't have a challenge on the schedule, I am
She's more
way
anxious.
more stressed.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think you the thing that makes you calm is not going to be the thing that makes you calm.
And
You know what I'm saying? Like,
honest question.
yeah, like it's hard for me to recognize in our personal relationship that you're also the person that I'm watching on the screen hanging out of the plane.
Oh,
Does that feel like, I mean, obviously you probably have this at way more
It's very
intensity,
bizarre. Yeah.
but like when I watch you on the side of an airplane that's like flying in the sky, one of the craziest parts of that ending scene is like when it's turning.
Oh my God, yeah.
When the airplane is turning, it's like, what? Like, and they're like, she's really gonna feel it now, and you're like, yeah. Like,
because it feels like action figure Michelle, not
Yeah.
our friend
Totally.
yeah, not
sitting
like,
right here.
well, that's why I
Yeah.
think, Samir, your note about including more of that
Right.
in our episodes is a good one to take.
even if it's like Zoom calls or like FaceTimes with friends and family or like other creators, I think it'd be really interesting of like you telling them what the challenge is and seeing their reaction. I think that some of that coming through the episodes would be so interesting. Cause even this, like this running one or like training with other, like going and running with Ryan,
Yeah.
for one of them or running with Amar at some point. Like, I think
Yeah.
that's adding some of that life and having them ask you questions about what the experience is like can bring some of, Michelle, our friend, out.
Yeah.
Because I do
appreciate that.
think it's a lot of Michelle,
Yeah.
the action hero, where you're
Mhm.
like, holy shit, she's so capable.
Mm.
And that's like, it's so fun to watch. But there's also just that like, but you're also just like the friend that we hang with.
Yeah.
That's like, you're the same person. I don't know how to explain that.
Yeah, I love that note. And I think like when we're in the weeds of like, we have, 6 weeks to pull this done off, it's like, I forget.
Sure.
I
Yeah,
forget
yeah.
sometimes that like, oh, we need to, like, we're going to pick up a camera and roll on our phones for 2 hours and we might not use any of it, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, what you're saying, Samir, is something we talk about a lot still in post. And actually, our editor, Ryan Gonzalez, who did this episode, did an amazing job on it. Something he sort of was adamant about is at a certain point, Michelle becomes Superman.
Right.
And you really have to figure out how to make Superman relatable and humanize him. And of course, you have things like kryptonite and trying to figure out what is Superman's kryptonite in each episode. And for this episode, the one thing we can attach to Superman is Lois Lane, and I am the Lois Lane of this episode.
Right.
And like the attachment that he has to her.
But I think you're missing one character, which is Clark Kent.
I like that.
Right. And that's what I would say is like, when is Michelle Clark Kent? Because that's what I'm suggesting, you know, can come through more.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I honestly loved bringing in the production team element as a storyline. You know, I mean, maybe it's just because we are so YouTube native, but I think it just added this parallel storyline of pulling not just for you, but for the whole crew. And it did make me feel like, oh, this is YouTube. This is not like you're saying.
Yes.
Something that on Netflix would be like, oh, it's just they would get it, of course.
Yeah.
Right. And that actually wasn't necessarily originally the plan.
Well, yeah, the story initially is like Michelle doing the stunt.
Right.
But sometimes when you have all that footage and then one of my favorite moments in the edit process is when I step back for a second and let the editor take charge. So Ryan Gonzalez, who did this episode, he was watching through all the footage and he kept talking about how this story just kept jumping out of him, out of the footage. And it was the story of the crew and how the crew pulled this off. Now, we had recorded all the footage to support that story, but that wasn't necessarily what my director brain thought we were going to do going into it. And so when he started saying that and he could show me and prove via the footage he was showing me, like, what if we set up Michelle and Steve's relationship, and this is the biggest stunt he's ever done, and we show a reaction here, and that completes that arc. And he started telling me all these things that it resonated with me, and I go, wow, we can tell that story in this episode. We could have told this episode, or we could have told that similar arc in our Houdini episode. We chose not to. It just wasn't the story for that. But for something about this, it was the right story to tell.
And I was selfishly very excited about this because, you know, I think historically on YouTube, this would have been 2 videos. It would have been, here's the story of Michelle's stunt. Click to our second channel to watch the BTS of the crew.
Right.
But the crew was the hero of this project. And I'm glad that we sort of like hit our vegetables in this of like, you know, this is the A storyline.
Yeah. So what do you hope? Like, this video comes out. By the time this comes out and people are watching this, your video will be out. What do you hope happens? Like, what happens as this video hits YouTube and goes out into the world?
I hope that the Burj Khalifa will allow me to climb it as number 1. Maybe they'll see that we're serious. I really hope at the core that our audience is inspired and excited and feels, you know, validated and yet another long wait for an episode from us. And I hope that other creators see this and feel excited and inspired to go the distance in their own projects more. I mean, as we mature in the show and as creators who've been doing this longer and longer, I get even more excited when other creators, you know, feel inspired to go the extra distance with their own work too. And I really just want other content creators to know that they can and that they will, and that you can go after a really big idea.
Totally. As someone who grew up filming videos with my neighbors on like a DV tape camera and uploading to those videos to YouTube when I was 12, 13 years old to now, like this video, it's really special to me because it sort of became a love letter to creating on YouTube and creating things independently and on our own. So I hope that can inspire those people who were where we were back then. Yeah.
I can say, I think for sure you did that because I watched it 100% at the end was like, wow, I think we can pull something off bigger than maybe we've pulled off before. And I think seeing you talk about your story in the piece as well of where you started at BuzzFeed and the types of challenges that you were pulling off and getting to meet the crew by the end of the piece, 100%. As a creator watching it, you totally believe and feel inspired to do something a little bit bigger than maybe you've done before.
It just confirmed to me that I'll continue to say no to plane situations.
Good. That's okay.
Don't invite me to your
too.
plane situations.
Right.
Don't try it.
Plane
Sean
situation.
McCormack.
What,
Red
I
Bull,
think
don't
Sean's
call-
going to ask you for
Don't call me.
Oh yeah.
I'm not doing a plane thing.
I think we should coordinate.
Yeah, I'm not doing a
Let's talk,
plane.
let's talk to Sean.
I will. I can't say on camera what our next project is, but I will tell you after this, and I think you're gonna lose your mind. It's not quite a plane situation.
It's a train situation.
It's up there.
Got it. It's a space situation.
Oh, okay.
What else is up there, Michelle? What else could it be?
I'll tell
It's
you.
a
when
hot
we
air
stop
balloon
recording.
situation. How many other situations could there be? All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for coming on again. Thanks, guys.